Well, Pennsylvania is hosting some of this year's highest profile and competitive midterm races. In one of them, a new CBS Battleground Tracker poll shows that Democrat John Fetterman is leading his Republican opponent, Mehmet Oz, by 5 percentage points in the Senate race. Robert Costa is in President Biden's hometown of Scranton, and he's been finding out just what voters are looking for. Hey, listen, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Scranton is definitely where the president likes to go back to over and over again when campaigning. But boy, it's turning out to be pretty interesting in Pennsylvania. Why are the races in Pennsylvania so important for people who don't live in the great state of PA?
So good to be with you from Scranton, Pennsylvania. This morning, Pennsylvania is really a microcosm of the United States this time around, just weeks before the midterm elections. In the past few days, we've been talking to voters, and it's so evident that the economic pain they're feeling, the issues they care about, whether it's abortion rights or democracy, that they're all coming to the fore in this state of Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, shall I say, because it's a competitive state. It's a state that has gone between Republicans and Democrats in recent cycles. And you look at the state's makeup now, it has a competitive Senate race, a competitive race for governor, and many competitive races for the House.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that it's a really good sort of snapshot of what you may see in other states as well. In Pennsylvania, you have, two big cities, right, in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, that the Democratic Party holds tremendous sway. But then you have wide swaths of rural areas. And the cities and the rural areas have different concerns. What issues are top of mind for Pennsylvania voters?
Certainly the economy, the inflation issue, the cost of food, gasoline, all of these are factoring into people's decisions in both parties as they look at the midterm elections, and that comes through in our CBS News Battleground Tracker poll. Those issues are top of mind for so many voters. At the same time, you have a dynamic slate of candidates in Pennsylvania that's drawing national attention. In particular, the race for U.S. Senate between Democrat John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, who suffered a stroke months ago, and celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz, the Republican nominee, backed by former President Trump. That has become a contentious race full of personal attacks. And it's not so much about the issues, it seems at times, but more about Oz talking about Fetterman's health, which Fetterman says is out of bounds, and Fetterman talking about Oz's residency, which Oz says is something that's a distraction from the policy debate.
Yeah, you got these two really big personalities, and Fetterman is sort of like this everyman kind of Joe sort of guy, wears hoodies and, doesn't wear suits, wears shorts any time of the year. And then you have, Mehmet Oz, who is, a well-known TV doctor with a tremendous audience, if you will. But yes, this sniping, this back and forth, I'm curious if that is having an impact on voters. Are they clued in to this sort of social media back and forth discourse, or are they just focused on the issues that are important to them?
They are highly aware of it because it's so often on social media. It's in their Twitter feed, their Facebook feed, or other social media. It's on television. So many local television stations here in Pennsylvania being covered with advertising from the candidates in this final stretch ahead of the midterm elections. What's interesting, though, politically, is that while the Senate race has so much attention locally and nationally, it's the race for governor, as a reporter, that I'm really keeping an eye on. Republican Doug Mastriano, who has the support of former President Trump, he was at the Capitol grounds in Washington on January 6th. He was protesting the congressional certification of President Biden's election. He's been asked for questioning by the January 6th committee. He's the Republican nominee for governor, and he has shunned most traditional news outlets throughout this campaign, doesn't want to take questions from them. So you have this outsider of outsiders on the Republican side running against a Democrat in Josh Shapiro, the state attorney general, who has a high profile, more of a traditional Democrat. And that race is just as important as the race for Senate. It's the governor's position in Pennsylvania is a very powerful one.
Yeah, Mastriano is very, very interesting. And he is, you know why he has Trump's support, because he's very much in lockstep with a lot of the stuff that Donald Trump has said before. I'm not sure if you're having a little bit of an audio problem, because I was going to ask you, the way the polls are shaping up now, do we have a sense of, you know, how the two candidates are doing?
In the Senate race, it's quite fluid. It's a 5-point race. Democrat John Fetterman is up. The race for governor is not as competitive based on the CBS News Battleground Tracker poll. Attorney General Josh Shapiro leading by more than 10 points against Republican Doug Mastriano. Of course, in the final stretch, these races could widen or they could narrow the gap based on various factors in the competitive races we're watching and tracking here at CBS News. But Pennsylvania certainly will become a state where President Biden likely comes back, former President Trump visits, because it matters so much, not just this time around in 2022, but for 2024 as that presidential race begins to shape up in the coming year.
All right, Robert, thank you very much.